I've spent really the entirety of my career with a primary focus on R&D and preclinical development. I particularly love the opportunity to lead cross-functional groups where we're striving for one goal. I've really been very fortunate to be able to do that whilst kind of having leadership roles. Sometimes you need to really think outside of the box to almost preempt what a field's going to need before they need it.
All right, welcome to another episode of Life Sciences 360. My guest today is Dr. Kate Broderick, and she is the Chief Innovation Officer of Maravai Life Sciences. And we're going to be talking about that company. We're also going to be talking about one of their brands, TriLink Biotechnologies. And in her role, she is helping Maravai, one of the leading life sciences companies that's dedicated to researching human diseases and providing critical products for enabling development of novel vaccines, drug therapies, and other diagnostic use cases. So welcome, Kate, to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Harsh. It's really nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, so I want to start off by asking you, thank you so much for your time. It's a very interesting company, Maravai. I was looking up all the different brands that are associated with the parent company, specifically the TriLink Biotech. That's what I want to talk more about. But before we go into all those details, do you want to give the listeners a brief overview of how you started in the life sciences industry, and how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely, Harsh. Thank you. So, you might notice from my accent that I'm not American by birth. So, I came to the States to do my postdoc at UCSD, following my PhD back home in Scotland. I stayed in academia for about 6 years and then transitioned to a local vaccine developer company in San Diego called Inovio Pharmaceuticals. Spent 15 years with them developing DNA-based vaccines and therapeutics, and took two of our vaccine applications to phase 3 trials, which was a fantastic experience. And then joined Maravai Life Sciences about 2 years ago to head their research and development and innovation efforts.
And I want to ask you in your role, because you are the best person who can explain this phrase. You're the chief innovation officer of the company, and I was reading the Maravai's website, and I saw a phrase that really sort of hit me hard. And the phrase was, the difference between idea and innovation is follow through. Can you expand a little bit on uh, how, what that means to the company and to your role?
Yeah, I think, and maybe I can, Harsh, first clarify, because I don't know that Chief Innovation Officer is a title that everybody's familiar with. So think of me as kind of, I guess, a cross between a Chief Scientific Officer and a Chief Technology Officer. We intentionally didn't use the Chief Scientific Officer title for this role because we really wanted to place the emphasis on technology, on innovation, on growth. And so, really, the purpose of my role here at Maravai is to allow the R&D scientists and, frankly, anybody on the team here at Maravai to come up with fabulous ideas about how to take the next generation of products, of services, of processes forward. But then be really cognizant about then taking those ideas through the development steps to allow them to become an actual product. So through the ideation, through the development, the process development steps, all the way through new product introductions to be available to clients. So it's really, really key that we don't just come up with brilliant ideas, that we actually take those ideas and turn them into something tangible that our clients can use.
Yeah, and when I look at your background, it's you have a really interesting blend of uh, tons of experience in research and development. You have a lot of leadership experience. And then when you sort of put all that together, combined, your experience is very unique in its own way. How do you think that has shaped or helped you in your current role, or is helping you now, communicate with your internal and external teams?
Yeah, I've spent really the entirety of my career with a primary focus on R&D, preclinical development, and then, with kind of an eye on then the later stage clinical development programs, and the regulatory requirements for said programs. So I've been really fortunate in my career, although I kind of come in as with my background in sort of bench preclinical development, to be able to have really seen, drug development from start all the way through to late stage clinical testing. And I've loved every minute of it. And I particularly love the opportunity to lead cross-functional groups, where we're
Mm,
striving for one particular goal. Maybe that's through developing a COVID vaccine, for instance, or it's about enhancing the way that we deliver certain nucleotides, or in the case of Maravai, coming up with novel cap technologies or novel modified base technologies for the mRNA developers. And I've really get a huge amount of enjoyment out of helping to communicate a vision to teams so that they can clearly see kind of the goals of a project, clearly trying to stick to defined timelines so that we can meet the needs of the company to deliver, really new, novel technology, um, really before I think clients know they need it, Harsh, because it's quite important to be at that
mm.
cutting edge. And sometimes you need to really think outside of the box to almost preempt what a field's going to need before they need it. And so I've really, my whole career, been very fortunate to be able to do that, whilst kind of having sort of more leadership roles and from an executive presence, but still be able to keep my feet really firmly in that science and technology frame as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the team at Maravai is extremely lucky to have you, and with your skill set, and the types of brands and the breadth of innovation that's happening. I think your skills are perfectly suited for this role. So I know you mentioned about uh cap technology, or clean cap, and I think that's developed by TriLink, one of the uh, child brands of Maravai. I don't know how to best explain it, but do you want to talk a little bit about TriLink, and then maybe we can go into why Clean Cap is sort of beneficial for maximizing the therapeutic uh, benefit of different mRNA therapies.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're quite right, Harsh. And I think this does help. I think if I explain a little bit about the company structure. So I'm part of
Yep.
Maravai, which is the umbrella corporate structure. But under us, we have a variety of distinct but vertically integrated business units, and really all integrated into an ecosystem which supports nucleic acid medicine development or genomic medicine development. So, as you pointed out, we have
Mm,
TriLink biotechnologies, which people in the field are probably familiar with, but I can elaborate on a little bit more. We have Cygnus Technologies, which develops impurity testing kits, which is incredibly important for cell and gene therapy products. We have an enzyme developer called AlphaZyme, who make all of our enzymes for our IVT process and also sell those. And then we
mm,
also have Glen Research, who are really critical in the oligonucleotide field. So we're all somewhat separate, but there's a lot of synergies and overlaps. But to your question related to CleanCap, I think that's probably the brand that most people are familiar with, is certainly when it comes to TriLink, and probably our claim to fame, perhaps, or the 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 area that we're most proud of is that our clean cap technology was included as the capping technology used in the Pfizer BioNTech COVID vaccine. So it was incredibly humbling to be part of such a critical vaccine development effort, obviously during the pandemic. And that resulted in our technology be used in billions of doses of that, absolutely life-saving um, vaccine. And so that was something we're incredibly proud of. And in addition to that vaccine, we're actually in 3 of the 4 approved COVID vaccines that are being used globally today. So our CleanCap technology really has many reaches, although so far it's been used primarily in infectious disease vaccines. We're actually seeing it as highly applicable in many, many of the RNA-based medicines that are being developed today.
Thanks for that background. And I wasn't familiar with all the details, but it's pretty interesting to know that the clean cap technology had such a critical role to play in the COVID vaccine. What are other interesting projects or uh, you know experiments that are happening at TriLink? Maybe, I know you can't share too much, but whatever you would be able to share with our listeners would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting to me, Harsh, really, since COVID, obviously, there has been a lot of kind of discussion of, well, was that it for mRNA? Is that, was that kind of
Hmm.
its peak? And, what's the future for mRNA? And really, it's a question that I love to answer because the future is so diverse and so incredibly exciting for this technology. I would particularly highlight self amplifying RNA as another vaccine option that's being really rapidly developed out there. There's some incredible advances by CSL Arcturus. They've just had their self amplifying COVID vaccine approved, and it actually also uses our CleanCap technology. And then there's many other developers utilizing that platform. And one of the benefits of siRNA is that you can use it at significantly lower doses than the traditional mRNA vaccine. So I think when we're thinking about solutions for potential future outbreaks, that could be a really exciting platform to look at. Other areas that are just incredibly exciting and advancing incredibly rapidly, Harsh, are of course CRISPR applications. We know that Vertex got the first ever approval for their beta thalassemia sickle cell therapy recently. And really, to me, that opens the floodgates, I think, for a whole new treatment paradigm for really incredibly devastating diseases that, in all honesty, have really had little to no treatment options. It was really about managing symptoms as opposed to looking for therapies. So the intersection between RNA technology, of course, which is used as the guide strand for CRISPR and base editing applications, and also the ability to encode the important nucleases using mRNA are other areas that we internally are incredibly excited about. So I do think that the future moving forward and moving past COVID as an application. If, for instance, Moderna just had their RSV vaccine, which is an mRNA-based RSV vaccine approved. So there's just so many potential applications for RNA-based medicines, and we're just so excited to be part of that journey.
Yep. Yeah, and from what I can tell by reading a bit about on this topic is that mRNA is obviously a very promising modality for vaccines, but there's also some challenges. So what makes mRNA so challenging, and how are you with other industry people sort of addressing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think any of us will have forgotten, the challenges for the mRNA rollout, even here in the States, not just, in more resource challenge settings. There was issues with, the vaccine had to be kept very cold. mRNA inherently
Mm,
is not a stable molecule. And so many of the formulated vaccines have to be kept either cold or ultra cold, which can be problematic when you're looking at a clinical rollout. So there's a lot of work
yeah,
through formulations, through mRNA design to really improve that stability profile. Because ideally, from a clinical setting, your preferred application there would be in the kind of 2 to 8 degree storage range, so in a sort of standard refrigerator. So that would
yeah,
be ideal. So many people are working on that. And then I would say another challenge that's being really rigorously investigated at the moment is the ability to target specific cells, cell types with RNA. So I think we all know that due to the lipid formulation, much of this ends up in the liver, and of course that has benefits, but also can be a challenge. So in particular, if we're trying to target cardiac tissue, myocytes, if we're trying to target the spleen, looking at abilities to either design the delivery modality, so the formulation itself, or design the constructs themselves with gene or cell targeting functions, I think could really open up a huge potential. For instance, if you're looking at cystic fibrosis treatments, it would be amazing to be able to target those treatments specifically to the epithelial cells in the lung. And so there's a huge amount of effort, a number of different labs and biotechs and big pharma to look at how we can better target these medicines to the specific cell types so that we can really tune those medicines to be even more potent than they already are.
yes, and you mentioned a lot of examples about collaboration, and also when you look at the whole time period of when COVID happened and the vaccines were ready for patients, that whole time period showed how the industry collaborated with each other and sort of worked towards one common goal. So I wanted to ask you, how do you or your team at Maravai approach collaboration, whether it's with external vendors or regulatory agencies or academic institution? What's your philosophy around collaborating?
Yeah, I have very strong opinions on collaboration, Harsh. I think science fundamentally has to be based on collaboration. We would only make incremental improvements to things if we're not all sharing the data. And so it was an incredibly
Yeah,
beautiful experience during COVID to see how fast people were getting out publications onto bioRxiv, for instance, so that really the researchers working so diligently could kind of share in the successes, share in the challenges, and kind of come together as a brain trust to solve those pressing issues. And of course, did so very, very successfully. At Maravai, we take a similar philosophy in that collaboration benefits everyone. A rising tide floats all boats. So we actively have a
yeah,
program where we perform outreach to academic institutions, to biotech institutions, to big pharma, where we really encourage people to come to us and talk through how we can potentially collaborate on a variety of areas. We really want to be a partner for clients, and the best way to do that is to really understand what the needs in the field are. So we, very, very actively present at conferences so that we can hear directly from the scientists at that coalface. What challenges are you having? What areas do we need to enhance? and how can we do that together to really ensure that the future of this, the potential future of these medicines is just as incredible as I think we all believe it could be. So, if you go on our website, for example, Harsh, we have a landing page where anyone can go on and click the QR code and be put in touch with our collaborations department. And we set up calls, we talk through where there can be some synergy, and we go from there. And it's a really exciting part of my job and the team's job is to be actively working together with other scientists in a very diverse range of areas.
Yep.
We're learning something, they're learning something. So overall, I think it's a really positive environment. And if I might, Harsh, too, I would like to also put in a plug for the Alliance of mRNA Medicines, which is a new entity that sprung up in the last year. And as the name suggests, is really there as a collaboration, a collaborative effort among anybody really working within the mRNA space, whether you're coming from an academic background, whether you're coming from a developer background, whether you're coming from a CDMO background, to really come together to advocate for mRNA, advocate for collaborations, advocate for speaking directly with the regulatory authorities. And, I'd really encourage anybody in the space to go out there and check out the EMM website and think about joining if that's something that they would be interested in.
Yeah, we'll definitely add that in the show notes, and
Thank you.
rightfully so, as you said. Yeah, you like you said, the collaboration is pretty evident in the industry. If you look at things like COVID, or even in the last, I would say, 15 months or so, we've seen tons of layoffs and mergers and acquisitions. And even when I'm on LinkedIn, I always see executives of the companies that are doing restructuring or layoffs are coming forward and expressing their gratitude for all the people that are working. And then also other executives are like, hey, come and apply to our company because we're hiring. And it's amazing to see that the industry itself is huge, but when times like this, whether it's COVID or layoffs or restructuring, there's everyone's looking out for each other. And that's what we see this also in tech and in other domains, but I like seeing that in life sciences, that everyone's kind of looking out for each other.
I couldn't agree more. As big as global as we are, we're still quite a small community, and I
Yeah.
think there still is a sense of it's a group effort, and as such, you want to kind of protect your team members, your family members, your group members, and so yeah, absolutely, I see a lot of outward support in a variety of different platforms.
Yeah, and I went to your prepping for this episode. I had gone through the LinkedIn and the websites and all of that. So I saw that TriLink recently launched a mRNA manufacturing facility in San Diego area, or that announcement was made. So do you want to talk a little bit about what that facility, like what kind of manufacturing or services is that facility going to be supporting?
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for asking about that. So, quite remarkably, TriLink has been making RNA for over 20 years. So, really has kind of one of the
Hmm.
original members driving those expertise forward. And, it's really quite incredible that we actually manufactured the RNA and the modified bases for Caitlin Carrico and Drew Wiseman's Nobel Prize. So we've been doing this for quite a while now and have made, over 100 GMP mRNA lots. And we've done that so far in one of the facilities that we had in San Diego. We've got 4 total now. But really, we saw
Hmm.
post COVID the need for advanced manufacturing. And by that, I mean, more than just phase 1, phase 2 capability. But we're now really seeing so many of these products that perhaps were inception, year, 2 years, 5 years ago, now really making their way through clinical development. And so that need for later stage manufacturing all the way through to commercial support manufacturing is really tangible at this time. And so we were incredibly proud to be able to open our newest facility, which is completely dedicated to late stage, so stage 2, stage 3, and then commercial RNA manufacturing. And we really hope that that's going to support the huge number of transformative products that are going to be coming through the pipeline very, very soon.
Mm. And you mentioned that this is going to be the fourth facility in San Diego area. So are these like more or less like for like facilities, or does each one of them have its own unique area of expertise that they're serving?
Yeah, a little bit of the latter primarily, Harsh. I think we, you know, po-
Okay.
within the pandemic, we were pretty much localized into one facility. And at that facility did incredible things to scale up the manufacturing of that clean cap reagent that I mentioned earlier to kind of global pandemic scales, which
Yeah.
of course was never what was originally envisaged for that product. But we really saw that we wanted to diversify within our functional facilities. And so we now have a single facility dedicated completely to the manufacture of products. And by products, I mean the reagents that go into the IVT reaction that makes the mRNA. So that's things like bases and cap molecules and such like. And that's all manufactured at one facility. Next door to that facility is this new facility that we've just opened for late stage RNA manufacturing. Then we have our earlier manufacturing, so our kind of preclinical research grade and phase 1 manufacturing that's made in one particular facility. And then we've got a corporate headquarters, which is our corporate headquarters plus our analytical development all in one building. So we've tried to kind of segment each of the facilities with a functional purpose.
Yeah, and that's where I was trying to understand, because it sounds like you were scaling and going all in on San Diego. I've never been there. I've heard a lot of great companies and startups. I worked with actually a couple of companies doing consulting work that are based in San Diego, but I've yet to fly and visit. So
Well, you're
hopefully
very
someday
welcome to
I'll
visit
be there
anytime,
soon.
Harsh. Let me know when you're in town.
Yeah. Yes, yes. So I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I was doing some research and I found out that you were listed as one of the top 25 biotech executives of 2024 by the Healthcare Technology Report. What does that kind of recognition mean to you and the work you're doing?
It's incredibly humbling, Harsh, to have been named on that list alongside some incredible peers. Um, I was very humbled and very honoured to be named as part of that. It means a huge amount to be recognised, especially in the context of others on that list. But really, it just speaks, I think, not to me as an individual, but more to the incredible teamwork that goes on at
Mm.
Maravai. And I'm just so thankful to work alongside some incredible individuals on the scientific side, on the manufacturing side, you name it, who really allow me to do what I do. And so really that acknowledgement certainly wasn't just for me, but was for them as well.
Yeah, and I was looking at the list, and as you rightly said, there's tons of biotech executives with heavy business and leadership background. There's a lot of people on there that have amazing scientific innovations that they've done in their past career. So it's a great list, and I was really excited to see you on there.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I know we're coming up on time. I know you're super busy, and I thank you so much for coming on to the show. But before we wrap this up, what's one area, whether it's related to the work that you're doing or in general in the life sciences industry, what's one area that you're really excited about in the coming, let's say, 5 years? Anything that you're really looking up to?
Oh my gosh, we could probably spend another hour on that topic, Harsh, but I'll try and narrow it down. I briefly mentioned this before. We had the first ever CRISPR approval last year, and when you think about the fact that there's 10,000 known monogenic diseases out there, 90% of which have no treatment options at all. I truly believe that the advancement of CRISPR and base editing technologies going hand in hand with potentially platform regulatory approvals um, to allow developers not just to kind of have to go through the standard approval mechanism for each different genetic modification. I think that could change the lives of so many people, Harsh, and in such a positive way. I mean, very rarely in the life sciences do we ever get to talk about the word cure. But what this technology could do is potentially cure people with some incredibly devastating diseases, and to have the opportunity to even play a tiny part in the development of um, those completely paradigm shifting therapies is just an absolute dream come true. So that's one of the things that I'm incredibly excited about. Personalized cancer vaccines, I think, will completely change the way that we treat cancer, which still in so many cases is a life sentence for people. So in the next 5 years, I think there is going to be some incredible advances out there using genomic applications.
Yeah, those are great examples, especially, personalized medicine is huge. And I've had this same discussion with many other guests on the show, and they've also said the same thing, that to me, I'm not I don't work in the scientific side of the industry. I'm more into compliance, quality, regulatory affairs, technology. So that's my jam. That's where I spend all my hours doing work. But it's still, as an industry professional, fascinates me that there are so many different pathways and mechanism of actions and therapeutic ways to bring new medicines. And it's like every time I talk to a company, their scientific team or CEO is pioneering a completely new way to solve a problem or a disease. So it's just fascinating to me that there's 1,000 ways to bring new therapies to patients.
Absolutely. And that's the way we'll solve some of these problems, is by coming at them from a variety of different um, entry points. And
Yep.
so, I absolutely believe that nucleic acid, so RNA and DNA therapies, will solve some of these incredible unmet needs at the moment for human health.
Yeah, it's been really a pleasure having you on. Thank you again for all the insights and sharing everything that you're doing. For our listeners, if they want to get in touch with you or they want to learn more about Maravai or TriLink, do you want to share social media or any website details where they can learn more?
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, you can go directly to maravai.com or trilink.com and read about our technology. And if anybody would like to reach out independently, I'm on LinkedIn. You'll definitely can find me there.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Any last words before we wrap this up?
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on and allowing me to talk about a subject I'm so passionate about.
Likewise. Thank you so much. That's it.
Thank you.